Greetings and God bless you. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to Spirit, Soul, Body Fitness with Sophia. Today and every day that we are together, we hope to inspire you. We hope to instill within you as we inform you on information that can help you become the very best you. We're concerned about your health and your well-being. But you know what? Let me educate you. You are a spirit. You live in a body and you have a soul. Your soul consists of your mind, your will, and your emotions. And those are the things that are bombarded with life every day. It's because of our mind, it's because of our will and our emotions. Sometimes we can find ourselves unbalanced. And when that happens, it can actually wreak havoc on our bodies. And we can be affected by a host of health conditions, and we don't know where it came from. Actually, some of those things could be from the way we think, the way we eat, poor nutrition, lack of sleep, and a whole host of things. You may say, well, Sophia, you don't look like you're in the very best shape of your life. You know what? You're right. In fact, according to the CDC, I'm obese. Like millions of American women here in this country, I'm 5'4", 150 pounds, thereabout, and size 14. And most American women have those statistics. But according to the American Heart Association, we are #1 candidates for heart disease, hypertension, and high blood pressure. Add my African American heritage, as well as the fact of my age, 44 years old today, thank you very much, then I'm really in a higher class for these conditions. But what can I do? Today, our expert, Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, has a wealth of information that will help us do exactly what our bodies were designed to do, and that is heal itself. You may be wondering, how is that possible? Well, again, our guest today, he is a world-renowned chiropractor. He is an author. He is an educator, a lecturer, and he is passionate. I like to say a passionate health evangelist, and he knows something about the body's innate ability to heal itself. Take a look at this.
So I want all of you to stand up. This has been the one technique in movement that you can do anywhere that I have found works better than anything. So I want you to put your feet together. I want you to put your hands down, bend your knees a little bit, and start shaking. Start moving up and down. Just like that. Come on, fill it out. Now, you can do a little bit of the American Indians and say, hi-ya, ya, 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 hi-ya, 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 ya, ya. But just feel it. You see, you can do this 5 or 10 minutes a day. Whenever you feel like your energy is a little bit low, this is a great feeling. Now, you can do it the rest of the talk if you want to, but find your purpose. And your purpose has to be something bigger than yourself. It cannot be about survival. It cannot be about paying your bills. It cannot be about paying the salaries in your office. It cannot be about buying the car you want, about buying the house you want. It has to be about something greater than yourself. The health of humanity could use you right now as a purpose. Just if you apply yourself. Make that your purpose every day. Ignite your creative part. Get creative. Don't think within the box. Think out of the box. Whenever you're confronted with a challenge, think out of the box. Because everybody else is just reacting like you. And if you're not thinking out of the box, unfortunately, you'll have the same results that you've always gotten. Forgive as many people as you can. Forgive yourself, more importantly. You know, all of us beat ourselves up for the mistakes that we made. Who hasn't made a mistake? I've made big ones. I tell my staff, sometimes I see that they want to do so well. And I always say, listen, mistakes are the greatest teachers if you choose to look at it as a lesson. So look at your mistakes as lessons, as long as you learn something constructive about it. Another characteristic that we have for most servant leaders is problem solving, healing. You see, most of us spend 80% of our time dwelling on a problem. 80% of our time. Most executives spend 33% of our time in crisis management. And as I observe people, the people that truly are servant leaders are the ones that spend the majority of their time thinking about the solutions of the problem. You know that Albert Einstein had a statement that is one of my favorite quotes, and I say it often because I have to remind myself of that every single day. And that is that you cannot solve the problems of today with the same level of thinking that created them. You can't solve the problems of today with the same level of thinking that created them. So we must change our thinking. We must think out of the box. We must start thinking, what can I do right now to be able to solve this problem? You know, one of the best exercises that I do when I have a problem is that I write the problem down, and then I spend a concerted effort in writing every possible thing that I can do right now to solve that problem. And then it's like a checklist, but at least it gives you a guidance of what you can do right now to solve your problem. So my question to you is, what are your problems? And are you making your problems bigger than what they need to be? Our actions are very critical because it allows us to really be what it is that we're wanting to be. You know, there's a formula for success that I don't know if you've heard it before, but in today's time, it's really the most profound formula for success ever invented. And that is be, do, and have. The challenge is that most of us have been trained or conditioned to think that we must have first before we can do, before we can be. And the challenge with that is totally opposite to what the formula is. That means that just because you don't have today doesn't mean you can act like you have it. Act as if, which was a principle that we've been taught for many years. Act as if. So if you want to be healthier, act as if you're healthier. At least think a little bit more about being healthier. If you want to be wealthy, act and behave like you're wealthy. And a simple step towards wealth, you know what it is? Just managing your money and having a relationship with your money like you will have with somebody you care about. Not about having money and throwing that money away and mistreating it, because money is a relationship. And the more the relationship and the deeper the relationship, you want to harness it, you want to protect it, you want to put it to good use. And you know, Mr. Jones was a widower, 75 years old. And he came into my office, you know, very depressed, hadn't showered, full of beer, white beer. And I examined him and I adjusted him and I sent him away. Well, 2 weeks later, I'm having dinner with my wife in a restaurant, and Mr. Jones comes in all dressed up in a beautiful suit with an incredibly gorgeous 22, 23-year-old woman next to him. So he sees me in the corner of his eyes and he goes to my table and says, "Dr. Mancini, so great to see you. I just want to thank you." I said, "Mr. Jones, what happened to you? Just 2 weeks ago, you were depressed. You were just feeling miserable." "Oh, but Dr. Mancini, don't you remember what you said to me? It's changed my life." And I said, "Mr. Jones, what did I say?" I said, "Dr. Mancini, you said, get a hot mama and be cheerful." I said, "Mr. Jones, that's not what I said. I said, you have a heart murmur, so be careful." Whatever you listen to, that's what's important. It worked for him, it can work for you. And the third emotion that keeps you from fulfilling your successful potential is anxiety. And anxiety is more related to the present. Right now you're graduating, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have any tests on Monday morning. What am I going to do Monday morning? Anxiety of whatever emotions you're going through right now. And the one emotion that allows you to diffuse that anxiety is actually love. There is nothing more powerful than love. And the kind of love that I'm talking about is not the kind of love that is conditional. It's an unconditional love, the same love that you have for a brand new baby. A brand new baby that you have no expectations except the desire to want to serve, to be able to be there, to cuddle, to love, to kiss on. Whatever the case may be. Even if you're changing a diaper, it's amazing. When you change a diaper of somebody that you love, like your son or your daughter, it smells very different than if you change the diaper of your neighbor's kid. I'm telling you. You know, if your wife says, you know, honey, would you change the diaper? Sure, honey, I would love to. Ah, it smells so good, you know. But try to change the diaper of somebody else's kid. It's a very different experience. I want you to learn to love yourself unconditionally. I want you to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I really, really love you. Every day, a few times a day, I love you. Because you see, if you can't love yourself authentically, if you can't love yourself unconditionally, there will be no way you can love anyone else that way.
Awesome and amazing. Now you see why our guest is here. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, will you please help me with a warm round of applause welcoming Dr. Fabrizio Mancini.
Thank you.
Well, it is such a pleasure and an honor that you are here. And wow, after watching that tape, we see that you are more than just a chiropractor. You are more than just an author. You really have a passion for what you're talking about. Isn't that right?
Well, I think the passion comes from the desire to want to contribute at a high level. To me, I love people, and I see and I feel the struggling that people are going through. And when I know I can do something about it, even if it's just to give you an example or a suggestion of maybe what you can consider doing different. And when I chose to go into chiropractic, rather than continue my journey in the allopathic traditional medicine that I was in, it was because I was involved in a car accident. And an orthopedic surgeon at the hospital actually said, I can help you, but all I can do is give you these medications and these injections and anti-inflammatories. But you should go see my chiropractor. And actually wrote me the number of his chiropractor. That afternoon I was there, and I can tell you that I sat in this reception area, and this person was there because they had headaches. Another person was there because they had upset stomach. Another person was there because their back hurt. And I'm like, well, they just mentioned so many different specialties. How can one person help so many people? And then what I realized is it wasn't about the person. It wasn't about the doctor or the provider. It was the fact that they were dealing with the nervous system, and they were removing interferences by gently adjusting the spine so the body can heal naturally. Because one thing we know is that this body is designed to heal naturally. And if we remove that interference, the body can heal at a greater potential.
Okay. So now let me make sure I understand this and play devil's advocate a bit, if you don't mind. Here you are. Some may be saying, millions of people listening and watching, well, he sounds good. He certainly looks good, but who is this fellow? I mean, here he was going to medical school himself, and an accident turned him to chiro. And we know chiropractic profession often is not given the credibility that medical profession is. Could you state the case why chiro and not medical, or where chiropractic fits into the world of medicine?
Yeah, and my journey began when I was 17 years old. My pediatrician was actually my inspiration. And my mom used to tell me that I used to get sick on purpose just so I could see him, because I just enjoyed being in that office. I felt always so good. And actually, I was in pre-med when I had this accident. I was on my way to graduating and going into medical school. So I never got to medical school. And at that time, I had the choice. I was like, what am I going to do? Am I still going to be the neurosurgeon that I aspire to be? Or should I go into this new role of chiropractic, which is primarily addressing the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual component of our health? And this is a holistic approach. This is where health is from inside out rather than outside in. This is the philosophy that embraces that the power that made the body is the power that heals the body. This is a very humble profession that doesn't try to take credit of curing anything, but primarily facilitating healing within the body so the body can do its job. And that's what sold me on this profession. And after 20-something years and servicing over thousands and thousands of patients, I can tell you that it works. And that's why I get so passionate about it. But the journey began there. And now with healthcare changing, the fact that we have one of the worst healthcare systems in the world, but we spend more money in healthcare than any other country. And we rank number 57, I think, the last statistic that I heard. And to me, I think that the challenge is not that the doctors don't have the right intentions, it's that we are really the best in the world at what we call urgent care or acute care. You get into an accident, you definitely want to go to an American hospital with a doctor that is definitely going to take care of you. But the chronic illnesses of today, which make over 80% of our costs, the arthritis, the diabetes, the hypertensions, the cancers, those conditions don't respond as well to just pharmaceuticals or to medicine. They respond well to lifestyle choices and changes that we make in ourselves. And like this morning, I was talking about genetics. You know, in the 80s and the 90s, we were spending a fortune, billions of dollars on trying to manipulate the gene, only to find out today that we're spending billions of dollars on something called epigenetics, which means that the surface of the genes, what dictates how the gene expresses itself, is more important than the gene itself, because that responds to environment. And when we make lifestyle choices such as eating healthier food, maybe going a little bit more organic, or moving our bodies and exercising, or perhaps thinking a little bit more positive today, those lifestyle choices can actually change the expression of that gene so the body can actually live to its full health potential.
So here you are talking about, again, integrating the spirit, the soul, and the body. And you're telling me if I change my thinking, I can radically change my health?
Very much so. In fact, there's more documentation on that today, on what is called body-mind medicine, than anything else. Because what's happening right now is that, for instance, even not just your thinking. I mean, your thinking is very important. For instance, you have a glass, right? We have a glass here, and you can see right now probably that the glass is what?
Half full?
Half full or half empty, right? So your attitude towards the glass is going to make all the difference towards your attitude and how you perceive the world.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Emoto in Japan has done a study in which he's actually done where now you can put that water and say positive things to it or negative things to it, and then he puts it in an electron microscope and takes a picture of the molecular structure of that water. And when you actually take those pictures and you do something positive, it's like beautiful designs and crystals. But when you actually say something negative like, I hate you, you're awful, you're never going to be anything in your life, then it's like the ugliest picture you can imagine. And that's when we started recognizing that we are made up of almost 75% water. So that means that when you are being negative to yourself and to me, that self-talk, that negative talk, is changing the molecular structure of your body and turning into the ugliness that we're seeing today in the world, where people are just living in chaos.
Wow. Okay. You sold us. We don't want to be ugly. Okay. No. So what do? Your latest book, The Power of Self-Healing. How is this book going to help us in terms of, and not just your book and reading the book, but then also going to a chiro, then also eating the right things. How is that to transform us?
Well, the idea for this book, actually, my inspiration was my father. My father was had a medical condition where he was bleeding rectally. They had to do a surgery, an emergency surgery, saved his life, but then all of a sudden that surgery turned into other negative things. So they had to do more surgeries, had to spend almost a couple of years in the hospital, and then ended up with lung cancer somehow. What I realized is that my dad was obese. My dad smoked since he was very young. My dad was a drinker early on, and even though he hadn't drank the last 20 years, it didn't matter. That damage was already there. And what it made me realize is that most people are making choices today not really with an understanding of what the consequences long-term will be. You know, when you're 15, 20, 25, you think you're going to live forever.
Correct.
So you will drink forever, or you will eat the wrong things, and you would just think, oh, this body's going to always be like this, right? But when we start turning 40, we start seeing a major change in our bodies. And we're like, oh, what's going on here? So the book is primarily to teach individuals that to look at health from a different perspective, to recognize that the choices we're making physically, emotionally, and spiritually have a direct effect in our health. And what I did is I started interviewing people how they healed from conditions that they said they could not heal from. You know, from many, many stories, from cancers to arthritis, all kinds of things. And people were sharing what they did. And almost everything they said was some people did more nutrition. Other people started praying. And now, you know, there's a lot of evidence towards that. Other people started getting support systems. And then what I wanted to do is show that it wasn't just a theory. I started researching the evidence, all the latest research that proved it. And that's where I put that book together, to show that our bodies are made up of physical, emotional, and spiritual, And we must address health from that perspective. And also that we should address the cause of the problem and not merely just manage symptoms. We live in a society that all we want to do is stop the pain or manage the pain or diffuse this discomfort. But the reality of it is that that's not going to solve the problem long term. When you address the cause, then you really heal the body.
In one of your earlier books, Feeling Fab, okay, we can tell you're upbeat, energetic, and and positive, all of those great things. Did it take time for you to become that way, or were you born that way?
You know, my mom would tell you that since I was very young, I tend to be more positive than others. We're 5 boys in my family. But I can tell you that that journey really began when I came close to dying one time during a robbery. And during that time, I realized that my life could have been over at that moment. And because somebody came in and the robbers left, and my life was safe because of an individual that saw them and called the police, I realized that I had a second chance. So because I had a second chance, I asked myself, how do I choose to live my life from this moment on? And what I realized is that you choose to live your life on the moment, on the present, one day at a time. And you choose every moment like if it's the last moment you're going to have. This moment we have right now, this is all there is. Every opportunity in our lives comes from this moment. The next moment will be that moment. But most people are either living too much in the past or too much into the future. Either they're dwelling on the way things were. I wish the economy was good as it was in the 80s. I wish that my old girlfriend was still with me. That's not going to help you. And then you got people that are saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to really give money back, or I'm going to start tithing in my church when I make X amount of money. Guess what happens? You never do any behavior differently, because if you can't do it right now with what you have, don't ever expect that you're going to do it later. So the Feeling Fab book was really about helping people get into the present time consciousness, the moment.
Okay. And there are 4 steps to living the Fab life. Can you expound upon them for us?
Well, the 4 steps are very simple. It's a formula that says that your thoughts lead to your behaviors. Your behaviors lead to your outcomes. And your outcomes create the feelings that attract everything into your life. And then I started talking about how we must put our health as our number 1 priority. And for my healthy body, mind, and spirit comes what next? Healthy relationships. And when you have healthy relationships, then guess what happens? Is that then you have a healthy, successful career. Because I don't know if you know these statistics, over 70% of Americans are doing today what they didn't go to school to do. What their diploma says that they're an expert in is not what they're doing. Most of our jobs come from relationships in our lives. And lastly is that you gotta have a purpose that's bigger than yourself. That your career cannot be necessarily about meeting your needs, it's about meeting the needs of the world. And when you think like that and you put yourself as only one entity here that is working every day for a cause bigger than yourself, whatever that is for you, then that's when you truly have a fabulous, and you begin to live a fabulous life.
Awesome. Now, we've talked a little bit about where you are. You're an author, you are a chiropractor. Let's talk a little bit about where you've been. You have also been the past president of Parker University, yes, formerly a chiropractic college, yes, but now it too is in transition because of our healthcare situation in America. You are currently president emeritus of Parker University. Can you share with us a little bit about who James Parker was, what he meant to you, what it meant to you to be the youngest college president in history, and then, what it means to you even to be part of them today, and then where they're going in terms of education?
Well, when I was researching what chiropractic school to go to, most people that I interview told me that they will go to Parker College of Chiropractic because of its leader. So I went to that school and I met this individual, Dr. James W. Parker, our founder, and I can tell you from hearing him the first time, I said, I wish one day I developed that conviction towards a profession that I love so much. I mean, the man lived and breathed chiropractic 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I went through that school, I started realizing that I was learning not only about how the body functions, but I was learning what he called his Parker principles, success principles. And what I did is that I started applying that into my life, into my studies, and I became a very successful student. And then I started applying it into my work life, and I became a very successful doctor. And then when he passed away, the board asked me if I will come in and continue that journey, even though I was only 33 years old. I mean, I still remember when the news came in the second day saying, did you know that you were one of the youngest presidents in the United States of a college or university? How did you get into this role? Because this role is really more academia driven, and you have to be in your 50s or 60s. And all I could say is, I'm here to serve. And then at that time, that's when I realized that we needed to shift with these healthcare changes. And the healthcare changes is the fact that we need to find new solutions and new careers in healthcare that can solve the problems of today. So Parker is developing all new degrees, not only the doctor in chiropractic, which we continue to be one of the main leaders in the world, but also degrees in an MBA and business administration master's degree with healthcare management, informational technology for healthcare, and many other degree programs.
Radiology.
And that's the radiology technology degree. And what that's going to do is it's going to be able to teach those degrees from an emphasis towards solution-driven mindset. So that way, hopefully, we can resolve this healthcare crisis that we're all living in.
Awesome. Now, in the few moments we have left, and just, generically, today, as I said, I turned 44. May 6th is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you kindly. Recently divorced, have a few extra pounds to lose. What would you say to me would be the first things I need to do to revolutionize my life and get myself going in the direction I need to go?
Okay, the first thing that I would say is don't dwell on the past. Let the past be where it was. Forgive it. Forgive those people that might have hurt you. Forgive yourself for any decisions or mistakes that you feel you might have made. Everything in your life has a purpose. You may not realize it right now, but it does. The second thing I would say is live in gratitude every day. Focus yourself on everything that is good. Realize that your needs are being met. Maybe you don't have everything you want, but the things that you need, you do have. Appreciate those things. The more you focus on the things you're grateful for, the more that the universe and God gives those things to you. So focus on the good things. And the last one is love yourself every day like if it was your last day. Love everyone around you like if you're never going to see them again. And when you do that, you realize that you're living to your full potential in every way.
Wow, that was a great birthday
Happy
advice.
birthday.
Thank you. I'm going to take that to heart. And you, as our viewers, thank you so much for being with us. And that is the gift that I want to leave with you. I'm going to share my birthday wisdom with you. Live in gratitude every day. Love yourself fully every day. Help me, Dr. Mancini.
And forgive the past.
Forgive the past. That's a
yourself
big one.
And forgive everyone that's hurt you.
That's a major, major important thing. Today, I hope you've enjoyed our time together, Spirit, Soul, Body, Fitness with Sophia. And today our guest was Dr. Fabrizio Mancini. We are so pleased that he is our guest and he was able to inform you on things that will help you move in the right direction. Hopefully, he's instilled the motivation within you, and prayerfully, he has inspired you as well. Thank you for being with us, and God bless you.